But this could hardly help farmers in improving their economic condition, as instead of producing food crops, now they were producing cash crops which were to be ultimately used by British industries back home. Despite some progress made in irrigation, India's agriculture was starved of investment in terracing, flood control, drainage, and desalination of soil. While a small sector of farmers changed their cropping pattern from food crops to commercial crops, a large sector of tenants, small farmers, and sharecroppers neither had resources and technology nor had incentive to invest in agriculture. The fourth industrial sector. As in the case of agriculture, so also in manufacturing, India could not develop a sound industrial base under the colonial rule, even if the country's world famous handicraft industries declined. No corresponding modern industrial base was allowed to come up to take pride of place so long enjoyed by the farmer. The primary motive of the colonial government behind this policy of systematically deindustrializing India was twofold. The intention was first to reduce India to the status of a mere exporter of important raw materials for the upcoming modern industries in Britain, and second to turn India into a sprawling market for the finished products of those industries so that their continued expansion could be ensured to the maximum advantage of their home country, Britain. In the unfolding economic scenario, the decline of the indigenous handicraft industries created not only massive unemployment in India but also a new demand in the Indian consumer market, which was now deprived of the supply of locally made goods. This demand was profitably met by the increasing imports of cheap manufactured goods from Britain. During the second half of the 19th century, modern industry began to take root in India, but its progress remained very slow. Initially, this development was confined to the setting up of cotton and jute textile mills. The cotton textile mills, mainly dominated by Indians, were located in the western parts of the country, namely Maharashtra and Gujarat, while the jute mills, dominated by the foreigners, were mainly concentrated in Bengal. Subsequently, the iron and steel industries began coming up in the beginning of the 20th century. The Tata Iron and Steel Company (TISCO) was incorporated in 1907. A few other industries in the fields of sugar, cement, paper, etc. came up after the Second World War. However, there was hardly any capital goods industry to help promote further industrialization in India. Capital goods industry means industries which can produce machine tools which are in turn used for producing articles for current consumption. The establishment of a few um, manufacturing units here and there was no substitute to the near near whole place near wholesale displacement of the country's traditional handicraft industries. Furthermore, the growth rate of the new industrial sector and its contribution to the gross domestic product (GDP) or gross value add gross value added remained very small. Another significant drawback of the new industrial sector was the very limited area of operation of the public sector. This sector remained confined only to the railways, power generation, communications, ports, and some other departmental undertakings.